85.
86 that time. Wow. Uh, 3S, the killer of all 1/10 scale monster trucks. Seems to be. I don't even know where it's gone. Gotta go look for the rest of the drive shaft. Hey guys, Vass here from Aussie RC Playground and welcome to my review of the Traxxas Stampede 4x4 VXL. Now this is a 1/10 scale 4-wheel drive brushless monster truck that comes ready to run with included battery and charger for the truck. However, you will need to supply your own 4 AA batteries for the remote as they are not included. Now this truck does come pretty well equipped. It is waterproof so you can splash through water without any issues at all. It also has adjustable camber links both front and rear and adjustable toe links at the front. Has an included wheelie bar, which is fantastic, and I will be discussing the wheelie bar later on in the review. Also has front and rear shock guards. Comes with an optional high-speed pinion gear designed primarily to chase the 60+ mile an hour that's printed on the box. And again, I will discuss the top speed of the truck later on. Also has a fairly decent toolkit, so if this is your first RC and you don't have any tools, there is a toolkit included in the box that will help you, of course, work on the truck and do any maintenance should you need to. Also has some shock accessories such as preload spacers and optional pistons, so you can actually change the way that the shocks function, which is fantastic. Has an optional battery strap which will allow you to use thicker batteries in the truck. Most of the 3S packs out there tend to be a little bit thicker, so they include that extra battery strap so that you can actually use those bigger batteries. And it also has a center drive shaft cover, which I think is a really good idea because it protects against any little rocks or little pebbles getting in there and scratching up your center drive shaft. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the truck and work out whether or not I actually like it and whether or not it's actually worth buying. Now for me, the experience that I had with this truck hasn't been all great. There's actually been a few issues with it, and I'm going to run you through some of those things. Some of it has actually just been annoyances, things that I found to be a little bit annoying that could have been done a little bit better, but other things I think are a little bit more serious. And we'll start off with the most obvious, which is the plastic drive shafts that come on the truck. Now this is a very old design by Traxxas. I have an old Emax that I bought back I think in 2000 or 2001, and it has the exact same design. And it's quite amazing that during at least this 14-year period, Traxxas have done nothing to improve the design nor the quality of these plastic drive shafts. Of course, the trucks have evolved since then. Back when I bought my Emax, I was running twin Titan motors and running nickel metal hydride battery packs, which I guess were acceptable to have these sort of plastic drive shafts. But now we've got trucks that are running Lipo batteries, and they're running brushless systems capable of some pretty high speeds and a lot of power running through the drivetrain. So to have these plastic drive shafts, I think that's a poor effort from Traxxas. I really think that they should have improved on this design by now. I know that you can buy RCs either at the same price range or even cheaper than this that come with CVDs or come with metal dog bones or something of a higher quality, and this is a little bit of a letdown for me. So the plastic drive shafts are a big issue on this truck. Next is going to be the tires. Now I don't have the tires on the truck at the moment, but you will see them on screen. The reason why I don't have them is because I did a little project a while ago where I rebuilt a couple of 2-wheel drive Stampedes and some Rustlers, and I sold off the tires with one of those trucks. Having said that, I'm not at all disappointed that I sold those tires with those trucks, because on this particular truck, on the brushless system, those tires actually didn't perform very well. On a 2-wheel drive brush Stampede, which was what I set up, they actually work okay. But in this particular truck, those tires are just not very good at all. They're not complete throwaways. You can drive the truck with them, but you will find that on certain terrains, mainly off-road, they're going to give you a little bit of trouble. They're not exactly grippy. The rubber compound is too firm and the tread pattern is actually very shallow, so you're not going to get any sort of decent traction on short grass or loose gravel or anything like that. So on tarmac and the old car park type of thing, that'll be okay, but those tires really need to get swapped over if you want to get some proper grip. Lastly, it's going to be the electronics, both the ESC and the motor. Now, the steering servo is actually okay. I believe that it is adequate for this truck. It certainly didn't give me any reasons to want to swap it over, but the biggest issues I had was the ESC and the motor, both of which run very, very hot, regardless of whether you're running 2S or 3S. Obviously in 3S it's going to be running a lot hotter, but these electronics, I believe, belong on the two-wheel drive vehicles that are currently on offer from Traxxas. And when you put that into a four-wheel drive vehicle, you're turning four wheels, it's a heavier vehicle as well, those electronics are going to be under a lot more stress and they heat it up. The ESC cut out on me a couple of times on 2S. It also cut out on me about 3 or 4 times on 3S, and the motor was scorching hot. And now, unfortunately, I didn't get any thermal readings to give you, but it was definitely too hot to touch. 3S is the big issue. I don't know how much longer the electronics will last in this truck, to be totally honest with you. Having said that, this truck was purchased in late 2013, and I do believe that since then Traxxas have released the Stampede 4x4 VXL with a new ESC. I'm not 100% sure on the motor. You can correct me on that in the comments if you like, but I know that the ESC has been swapped around and maybe that one won't give you so much of a problem, but if the motor is the same, my guess is it's still going to be running extremely hot. And I know that I'm not the only one that has had problems with these electronics, because all you got to do is check the web and find that other people are also having issues with them. So these are the three main problems that I had with this truck, and they're actually quite expensive to replace. Obviously your motor and ESC, if they go, that's an expensive purchase. You'll be lucky to find anything that is adequate for this truck under $100. So you're going to be looking at 150 thereabouts, maybe even push 200 depending on what brand and what power system you find out there. So that is an expensive upgrade for this truck. Tires are fairly common, but again, that's another $70 odd that you're going to need for a full set of tires, maybe a little bit more depending on what you buy. And the drive shafts, which are a relatively quick fix, are not cheap at all. Cheapest ones I found, I think, were around about the $40 mark for one pair. So if you're planning on swapping both of them, you're going to be up for anywhere between $80 to $100 depending on what brand you buy and where you get them from. Add that all up, you could be pushing $700 plus for a 110 scale monster truck, and it still has a couple of other little annoyances that I found on the truck. One of them is just a personal pet hate. I know that some of you probably don't care too much about this, but not having adjustable body posts is something that I always appreciate that an RC has, because you want to be able to adjust the body, especially if you're swapping it over for something that's not the original Traxxas body. Now this particular one, I've actually lowered it, and the way that you do that is by getting these little battery holder strap things that you can get from your two-wheel drive Stampede or even your Rustler, and you get the little battery strap holders, which are made out of metal, I think. You screw them into the actual posts, so you actually or the arms that hold the posts, you take the original posts out, you put these in. You do need to buy some additional hardware as well to be able to lock them into place underneath, like a couple of little nuts. So you put them on there and the body lowers down and it actually covers the chassis line now. You can still see the chassis a little bit, but at least it's not raised up above the chassis where all the electronics and everything else can be seen. So not having adjustable body posts is something that I would have appreciated, because it would be nice to be able to sort of, play around with the height of the body. The wheelie bar is another thing that really annoyed me. It's great to have to stop the truck from flipping on itself. It does have a little bit of power, and I will talk about the speed very shortly, but when you're running this thing off-road, the wheelie bar tends to get in the way more so than it does help. So personally, if you're going to be doing some jumping and some general bashing, BMX track or your skate park or something like that, take the wheelie bar off for two main reasons. One, you're going to prevent yourself from breaking it, because it doesn't like hard landings. I didn't break mine, but I have seen some that break quite easily depending on how you land on it. And two, it constantly pops open. So there's an adjustment on the wheelie bar that allows you to set the height of it so that you don't, the truck doesn't pivot up too much on the wheelie. You can actually keep it quite low if you want to do that. But it pops open all the time, so it kind of flops around in the back. and kind of gets in the way. My advice is just take it off and don't use it when you're doing some bashing. The wheelie bar, however, does come in handy if you're going to be doing some speed runs, which will stop the truck from coming up too far. You can set it quite low, and that'll keep, most of the time, we should keep your wheels on the ground. Now, speaking of speed runs, speed on this truck out of the box is 45 kilometers an hour on 2S and about 65 kilometers an hour on 3S. They give you a high-speed pinion gear, which is supposed to be able to reach that 60 mile an hour stamped on the box. Unfortunately, the truck does not do 60 miles an hour. Best I could do was about 52 or 53 miles an hour. Now that may not matter to some people, but you got to take a couple of things into consideration. Number one, that speed cannot be used off-road. The electrics struggle as they are with temperatures with the stock gearing, with the small pinion in there. So you can imagine that if you gear it up and put more stress on the electrics, they're just going to spontaneously combust at some point. So no point in running any bigger pinions on this truck off-road. You best leave it as standard and try to keep it down to 2S. 2S is only 45 kilometers an hour, which isn't slow, but it is a little bit subpar compared to some of the other RCs on the market today, especially around this sort of price range. And I believe that's not so much due to the gearing, that's due to the electrics. Hence the reason why they're getting so hot, because they're just not suited for this application. That's my belief. You can take from that what you want. Now, these are all negative points. There are some positives here that may draw you to the truck. First and foremost is the part support. Traxxas in general has an enormous amount of part support, not just from the brand, but also from third-party companies. So if you do want to get something like this and just keep pouring money at it and customize it and make it completely bulletproof, then go ahead and get something like this. So there is an enormous amount of part support, which can give a lot of people peace of mind, and they're like, okay, it doesn't matter if an AM breaks, I know I can go down to my local hobby shop, or I can shop online, my favorite online store, and get the parts that I need. I don't have an issue with that. So that is a great thing. There's also a lot of adjustments that you can do on the truck. You got adjustable links, adjustable points for your shocks, both on the A-arms as well as on the shock tower, so you can change geometry of the suspension, which is fantastic. And overall, it is actually quite durable, with the exception of the drive shafts. I didn't break any A-arms, I didn't have any steering knuckles pop out or break. Everything is hex hardware, which is fantastic. The truck is also very, very easy to work on. I mean, the design has actually been well thought out in the sense that you only need to take a few screws at the front and a few screws at the back, and both diffs will just pop out very easily. Even changing the pinion gear is hassle-free. You know, it doesn't really take a lot of effort to work on this truck. It also has a center drive shaft cover to protect the aluminium drive shaft from getting scuffed by rocks and debris, which is great. It's all waterproof as well, so you can splash it through the odd puddle here and there. There are quite a number of positives here, but whether or not that's enough to draw you to this truck, that's entirely up to you. For me personally, well, I think you've already guessed the verdict. I wouldn't buy this truck again. If I was to do something like this again, I would look for a roller on eBay and build it up from scratch, or even just start buying all the little bits and pieces if I wanted to make something in RPM. And you know, I wouldn't even bother with the roller. I'll just buy a bare chassis and just buy all the components that I need to put everything back together. So that's probably where I would go or start from if I was to build something that, well, you know, I was going to put a bit of money into it. But as a ready-to-run vehicle, which is what this review is about, the truck as it comes out of the box, I think it's a little bit average. It's probably more overrated than anything else. It has a lot of hype to it. It has a lot of popularity because at one point, I agree that it was a fantastic truck and it had you know, good value for money, it had good speed, and it was great. But the bar has risen, not just in this category, but just for the price itself, for the $400 odd that you pay for this truck, at least online. I mean, in hobby stores, that may cost you a little bit more, but for the price, you can get a little bit more bang for your buck out there. Even just one last thing, just the general handling of the truck wasn't fantastic. It wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't fantastic. I think the shocks are a little bit too stiff. They do feel, you know, the shocks work okay, but they do feel very cheap. They're just all plastic bodies, and I know that some people have had issues with the caps popping off, so it would have been nice if they had aluminium caps, or they looked a little bit more pro, a little bit more stronger than what they are, had a little bit more grunt to them. I'm searching for a word here that I can't quite find, but you get the idea. There's just something about this truck that's kind of mediocre. There's really nothing amazing about it anymore. There's other RCs out there that have exceeded this, and to me, this truck is kind of meh. It's kind of okay. So that's just my thoughts on it, guys. I mean, you take from this what you like. Thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to check out the video description for more links on this truck, as well as the unboxing video, which I'll go into a little bit more detail about how the truck comes equipped. There's also a link in there for my Facebook page, which will keep you a couple of steps ahead of what goes on here on YouTube. But that's it from me. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll speak to you guys next time.